a simple plan that allows me to browse all I want, call all I want, and text all I want without any restrictions.
Oh, Moreflex is the perfect all-in-one plan for you. When you join Flex on 9 Mobile, you get double data on your data purchase. Really? You also get 300% extra on every Moreflex bundle. Now, that's more than just value. It's Moreflex. Just dial star 344 star amount hash to get started.
9 Mobile. Here for you. Here for Ninja.
The great adventure begins. The locker room on Smooth.
Mike's out for real this time.
Is brought to you by 9 Mobile. 9 Mobile. Here for you. Here for Ninja.
It is 70 minutes past 8 o'clock here on Smooth 98.1. Good morning, Tega.
Good morning. Is it morning yet?
Yes.
Good morning, Lagos. I made it
Where were you last night?
at Flushing Meadows. I'm awake.
Good morning, Brazilistics.
Good morning. I am not at Flushing Meadows.
Aha. I'm sure you slept well.
Yes.
welcome. All right, join the conversation with Brazilistics and Tega Supreme here on the locker room. Send messages through WhatsApp 0809-444-0981. On Twitter, we're at Smooth981FM, hashtag lockerroom981, and we're streaming live on YouTube. Tega, let's start by talking about the 2019 African Games. Team Nigeria have arrived at the Federal Capital Territory. Let's talk about that.
Okay. Basically, Nigeria competed. You know the story. Egypt won again, for good measure. I think Egypt has everything. In fact, I don't know why. Is Egypt Africa now? We shouldn't be letting them compete. No, countries like Egypt and South Africa, we really shouldn't be letting them compete.
They should have their own competition.
They should have their own competition because they kind of have everything. The rest of us, we are either good in sprints, good with basketball.
But is anybody stopping us from having what they have?
That's not the issue. The issue is as it is right now. You understand? I don't like people are very arrogant in this place. I'm not talking. But what it is basically Nigeria did try with the team that they sent out. It wasn't I won't say it was a strongest team, and I didn't expect much, but they stunned with 127 medals, all in all. Very good performance. Football, the Falconets won the gold. The men, as usual, dropped the ball. I don't know why they just keep holding us back.
Excuse you?
I can't even deal.
That's well.
Again, the men with the 100 meters, 4x100 meters, a Ghanaian had the nerve to tweet at me because the men dropped the ball again. Like the Ghanaian quartet passed the Nigerian quartet. Like the Nigerian quartet were not even there. They were not even competing in the same race.
It's juju.
But you saw the way our women, exchanged the battle. It was smooth, it was sharp. It was like, you know how it is. Okay, this is not men versus women. I'm just saying
Kind of
that
feels
women
like.
seem to do
I know, right?
their work, and the men are just, you understand what it is, making this table
They're
lopsided.
trying harder. They're trying hard.
Okay, but it was not a bad outing. I would like to see the sprinters especially continue to keep. It's one thing to run one race, sub 10. It's another thing to consistently run that race like that, especially with the Olympics coming in Tokyo next year. I want to see these athletes that, went to represent Nigeria do well. I want to see a little bit of investment in their training and then maybe a better production at the Olympics. So I'm happy that it was the new minister, that is, he's his first days, he's doing everything very well. It came back in a chartered flight, came back in time. He was there to receive them, to talk to them, to welcome them, to tell them that they did a good job. Oga,
I hope it's sustained.
this energy, you must keep it up to the end. You cannot go halfway. So I like the fact that he's doing the right things so far. Hopefully he's taken. His team has taken note of the athletes that represented Nigeria. They'll be able to focus on the parts or on the different athletics that we excelled in, and try to get us to be able to compete next year. And again, I keep saying, because 2020 is so near, I don't expect them to fall my hand. But
imagine, can I just mention that the margin is so wide between Egypt's medals and Nigeria's
I don't
medals.
like the way you're talking
No,
to me.
I do not like the way they summarized my Nigerian medals. They summarized our medals to 121. Egypt's medals, 99 gold, 96 silver, 69 bronze.
Let me explain to you. Their gold alone was almost more than your entire medal. That's what I'm saying. They should be in a different competition. And South Africa didn't even send their strongest team. Let's just they didn't send their strongest sprinters. They didn't send their strongest anything. They just said, you know what, we have team A and team B. You know, that's how it is to come from a country that has some structure.
Yes.
Even South Africa's hands have their own
We have structure.
but they have structure. And they didn't send their best team, and they still did well.
Yes, we have structure.
We have what?
We have a ministry of sports.
Next story.
Moving on quickly.
but I hope we can keep this group together and do well.
Okay. Now, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc finally took his maiden Formula One victory after holding off Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes to win the Belgian Grand Prix. Leclerc dedicated the win to Formula 2 driver Anthoine Hubert, who was killed in a crash on Saturday. He said, "This one is for Anthoine. Feels good, but difficult to enjoy on a weekend like this." Mercedes driver Valtteri Bottas was third, ahead of the second Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, who had a disappointing day, outclassed and outpaced by his teammates. McLaren's Lando Norris suffered a bitter blow at the end. After a strong race in fifth place, after starting 11th, he had a suspected engine failure on the final lap and dropped out of the points. That elevated Alexander Albon to fifth after a strong drive from 17th on the grid on his first outing for Red Bull.
Okay, so this weekend was dramatic to say the least. Started on Saturday, and I think if a lot of people were not watching Lewis Hamilton's interview, a lot of people would have seen when the crash happened live, because Luiz was having his interview and then the crash happens on his screen ahead of him. I think it was his reaction that made people to go and check what's happening in Formula 2, because he just goes, okay, I think we should stop the interview now. And then he just walks off because it was a bad crash. So Hubert drives he hits the barrier. Unfortunately, he hits the barrier and his car bounces back, and then another car crashes into him and tumbles over, and then the other car crashes into him. So it wasn't the initial contact with the barrier that ended his life. It was that multiple collision.
Yes.
Very sad loss. Young driver. He was also, Charles Leclerc raced against him. So he's somebody that he knew very well, that he was close to. They're both French. It wasn't a good place for Charles Leclerc to be. But he had qualified and the race was going to go on anyway, and so they got into the car. Like I said on Friday, it wasn't what Ferrari was able to do with qualifying or practice. I wanted to see how good their pace will come through in the race, and it did. Mercedes was really lagging behind in this race, especially on the straights. The Ferrari was faster, but the good news about the Mercedes is that in the race they have a stronger engine, so over a longer period they'll be able to use good strategy and they'll get to you. And that's how Hamilton was able to take out Sebastian Vettel. But Sebastian Vettel did a fantastic job holding Hamilton up, because when Hamilton came out of the pit lane and it looked like he was going to be able to overtake the two Ferrari cars, the strategy was now, Vettel, move over because Charles Leclerc is faster than you. Again, I don't know what that means for Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc. I think they are now recognizing that Charles Leclerc seems to be the faster driver. So
definitely.
they are pushing for a 0 champion over a 4-time champion. I don't know what that strategy is, but they did tell him to move over. He moved over, and then they made him hold Lewis Hamilton up. And I think that singular factor was what won the race for Charles Leclerc, because Sebastian Vettel held up Lewis Hamilton till the gap increased from 2 seconds to 6. And then Lewis Hamilton stepped on, you know how that guy can do hammer time. He stepped on that pedal. It was 0.8 seconds that Charles Leclerc used to beat him.
Wow.
Just one more lap and Lewis Hamilton would have won the race.
Yeah.
So it was that singular strategy. It has nothing to do with Charles Leclerc's stubbornness, but that singular strategy, that holding up, and how long he held him up, really did help Charles Leclerc. But again, Ferrari is going to have to sort out, when it comes to tires, they're going to have to sort things out, because for some reason, the tires work for every other car. You see some tracks that tires work for Red Bull, tires work for Mercedes. I've not seen any of the tires work for Ferrari. They are always struggling with the tires, as if they have a problem with Pirelli. I don't know what they did.
Tires were made for them.
So, but it was a good race for Ferrari. I hope to see it continue. Red Bull always knew it was going to be about survival, but it didn't help any more that Max Verstappen crashed in the first round.
Okay.
But Red Bull is looking towards races like Shanghai, where they are strong. Ferrari was looking towards this race where they are strong. They've won it. It doesn't help them in the constructors' championship because Mercedes still came second and third. So
And they're off to Monza now.
yes,
I think there's something with the configuration of the Ferrari car that seems to degrade the tires when they're cornering, because that seems to be the problem. They seem to lose speed on the corners. They're fine in straight line,
yeah.
no problem. But
But it's
something about the
corners that
corner,
really matter.
yes, and they haven't seemed to figure out what the problem is with the makeup of their vehicle and how that interacts with their tires
I
as
think
well.
they have. I think they have, but they can't do anything about it. You know how you want to question yourself: do I go with the pace,
Yeah.
or do I go with the reliability? I think they know what it is, but they don't know how to solve it yet. Because they had to compromise to get something, but they don't know how to fix that compromise. But I mean, the fact that they've won this race already makes it interesting. I know Lewis Hamilton has run away with it because think about it, he's about 100 points ahead of his closest Ferrari rival. I think 87 points over.
At this stage, it's really damage limitation now. It's about how many races they can just get on the board for them to show that they had an overall good package. It has its problems, but and then this issue.
I thought that was bad.
It's bad. Exactly.
No, but they every year they always seem to show a lot of promise, but fall somewhere along the way. So there's an issue with reliability with their package and a mental block, I think, specifically for Sebastian Vettel, because he makes far too many mistakes and it's impacted on strategy for the team.
Exactly, because at the start Hamilton overtook him and it was a mistake again. He went off the track, and then because of that his pace on the straight was able to get back at Hamilton. So maybe Vettel is just losing his teeth.
Yeah.
Well, Ayo sent in a message. He says, LOL, Pirelli and Ferrari are both Italian. Maybe some mafia bad blood. Mercedes and Hamilton still winning this year, Sha. All right, Novak Djokovic's left shoulder was aching. His chances were fading in the fourth round against Stan Wawrinka. And soon enough, the United States Open defending champion and number one seed was out of the tournament, leaving to a chorus of boos. Djokovic shook his head as he walked over to the chair umpire to say he was retiring from the match because of that shoulder, while trailing 6-4, 7-5, 2-1 and being thoroughly outplayed Sunday night. His words, the pain was constant for weeks now. I'm sorry for the crowd. Obviously, they came to see a full match and just wasn't to be. Djokovic said this at the news conference and ended by saying, I mean, a lot of people didn't know what's happening, so you cannot blame them.
Yeah, I think what it is the communication, because he obviously was struggling with his shoulder. He couldn't serve well, couldn't hit his take his shots well. But what it is that people look at the Djokovic, the man, sometimes, and you can get confused. He has that when he's playing his tennis, he has that zen mode he keeps himself in. So sometimes it's hard to tell when he's struggling, and even when he's struggling, sometimes it's hard to tell when he's struggling because sometimes he can pretend. I don't know what he's doing. Because sometimes he'll call him for the trainer and say, "Rub my back." Then he'll beat the person by 6.
Which is probably what
and
the crowd
everybody
was
will be like, what was wrong
to.
with your back? You know. So I think that there was a miscommunication. So the people, the fans, some fans just were booing that maybe because he was losing his faking another injury and he's walking off the court. But that wasn't it. Djokovic will never do that. He wants to win too much to ever walk off just because he's losing. But what it was a tough one. He had that pain in his shoulder when he came into the US Open. It escalated again. I think in the third round he did complain of some shoulder ache, but he thought it was something he could massage or rest away. But what happened is he faced another tough opponent in Wawrinka. Now Wawrinka is a tricky one, because if Wawrinka is in the tournament for long enough, he starts playing blindingly excellent tennis, and he can put anybody under pressure. And he's been in this tournament to the 4th round, so you can understand how well he was playing. But what it is that Djokovic is out, and that frees up that sector just a little bit, not too much, a little bit. And that's Federer's sector, because he was supposed to, if Federer and Djokovic continued at the trajectory they were going to meet in the semifinals. But it frees it up a little bit for Roger Federer, or for the men's side. So great one to see there. On the women's side, again, Serena Williams just doing her thing. She rolled her ankle. I thought it looked bad, but she came back and won that match. I hope it doesn't flare up in the next match. That's the problem, because it looked like she's well enough to complete one match, and then the next match there is a tough one, but she was able to get through. Sad news for Pliskova, who won the first set but lost the next two, and Joanna Kontas knocked the third set out. But the biggest one everybody was talking about, Naomi Osaka against Coco Gauff.
I know,
amazing.
Saturday,
Coco Gauff comes onto the court, and she's like, I'm ready for this. And then she was blindingly beaten, especially in the second set. She broke Naomi Osaka. If you watch the results, you say, oh, this was a horrible one. But if you saw through the match, there were too many times she got to break point with Naomi Osaka that she didn't take advantage of. And it was simple. She was overwhelmed by the situation. But she's 15. She didn't understand what was wrong with her. So you could see her getting frustrated and sulking and doing what. And I was looking at her
graceful.
I was looking at her saying, calm down, girlfriend. Just calm down. You're nervous. That's what it is. And she needs those kind of losses. Sometimes it prepares you for the big one. But Naomi was so nice to her. And I keep telling people that Naomi calling her for the interview wasn't necessarily because Naomi beat her. She's not the first person that Naomi beat her has cried.
And it wasn't her being patronizing.
Yeah, I think what it was that she had seen, they used to train together in the same place before. When they were, she had seen, so Naomi had seen another black family just in the same center training randomly. At the same time she was training, and then Naomi makes it to the big tournament, and next thing she sees that young girl who used to train in the same place in the big weeks. So it was more like, my village people, we have made it.
Please come.
Do you understand? You know, and see your village people at the same place. That was what it was really about, that, because when she did turn to the parents and say, look, I used to see people train, and now we are both here, and I'm just glad that both of us made it. It said a lot about the area, and then I had to go and do all that research, and that's when I realized that we both grew up in just about the same place and went around the same places. But she struggled, but it was good for me to see her again yesterday when she played in doubles with her partner, Katie what they call themselves, Makoko, but I don't know. That's what they call the team, and she won. It was great to see her jumping and smiling. I was like, yeah, over it. Now you understand what you need to do. But that was a learning curve, and I think she's going to be the better for it at the end of the day.
All right, so we'll take a break here. We're still talking sports inside of the locker room here on Smooth 98.1. Stay with us.
Yeah, for those of you watching on YouTube, not all village people are happy when they see you.
When you were talking, I was like,
No, because
I understand. They grew up in the same area.
No, but it's important. They know.
Our concept of village.
Our village people, if they see you in the same place with them, they're not always very pleased. So just put it out there.
Every more flex bundle. Now, that's more than just value. It's more flex.
It was fantastic.
344 star amount hash to get started.
9 Mobile, here for you. Here.
Live music. Love.
I don't even think Coco thought she was going to do it.
All right, we're back. Studio is live.
98.1. It just feels good.
Glad to know you're there. You're listening to The Locker Room. Is a part of Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1 with Tega Supreme and Brutalistics. Chimobi Victor sends in a message, says, good morning, guys. Our sports minister has really started on a good note. I believe he'll do better than our former Red Beret minister. Even Tega can attest to this. Can't she, though? More messages. We will take this in time. Now, Danny Shaboy says, Tega, the wonderful super analyst, they said, what happened that you started on very low key this morning. She said she was tired. It was, of course, the end results of the African Games, Abi. Egypt's not fake Africa, he says. We shall work a way out for them next time. So just cheer up. It is well. Please, I want to ask my Tega, where do you get the strength to kickstart your analysis? So much encomiums, huh? Lanisha boy, I'm going to exchange numbers. I'll send your number to Tega, and Tega probably will consider doing the same, maybe. More stories here on the locker room. Keep your messages coming into WhatsApp 0809 444 981. David Lewis says Arsenal defenders need to take responsibility for the mistakes against Tottenham on Sunday. Defensive errors cost the Gunners 2 first-half goals in the North London derby, with goals from Lacazette and Emerick Aubameyang either side of the halftime, eventually earning Arsenal a point. According to statements granted to Aubameyang, I think he said, "I think the criticism is normal. In all my career, it's been like that, especially when you're a defender. Strikers never lose games unless if they miss a penalty at the last minute. This is football. The defenders have to take responsibility and take criticism in a good way, in a humble way. We need to understand when we make a mistake and say that."
Okay, so yes, he's right. It would be nice if he took responsibility more often on the pitch rather than talking about it after.
Yeah.
But simply put, that North London derby was a case of Arsenal's defenders gifting Tottenham 2 goals when there was literally nothing on. It was a game that I felt that Arsenal played more with their hearts and less with their heads, particularly in the first half, and to a very large extent, probably the second half. And it seems to be something that seems to happen every time they're at the Emirates. Once the crowd is like pushing them, they lose their footballing heads and then just use, for want of a better word, their church mind to be playing the football. And while it's good for the fans and all of that stuff, from a tactical perspective, it makes it difficult for you to execute whatever plans you have. And you could see that in the first half. They were winning the ball, but they seemed to be in too much of a hurry to get the ball to the front three, and often their passes fell short, and that also led to a lot of turnovers and transitions, and that led to, I think, one of the first goal that Eriksen scored. It was reminiscent of a goal that a certain Aaron Ramsey scored when in the reverse fixture last season, where Tottenham was pressing, they lost the ball, and one counter, it was a goal. I could not for the life of me understand why was it Socrates and Xhaka went for the same ball in the prelude to the first goal, and then Granit Xhaka, what on God's green earth are you doing diving in the box like that in this era where, in fact, you didn't even need VAR for that penalty. From a mile away, as soon as you saw him go to ground, people were already booking penalty. Why? Anyway, so it's one of those examples of irrational behavior when calm heads were required. Creative. Look, in the second half, Arsenal ran the show mentally and physically. Tottenham were flagging, and if they had been a little bit more composed and converted their chances, it could have been more than it could have been a different result. That said, Tottenham will walk away with a point that they probably didn't see coming with the way that second half was going. They'll be happy with that going into the international break, and some more stability for Pochettino as the transfer window closes, because he's been playing with a lot of people unsure whether they're staying or where they're going.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brutalistics. Now, Femi sent in a message from Festac. It says, "It's amazing hearing the same people who said finishing second with 81 points was a disaster are the same people making excuses for Ole, who has 3 wins in 18 games. I said Arsenal fans have no reason to be worried when they went 2-0 down against Spurs, because I knew Spurs were going to bottle it, and eventually they did," he said. Big E from K2 says, "I was so hungry on Saturday, and I prepared okra soup. Man U, Chelsea, Barca. They made the soup well. It wasn't ready yet, but I had to wait till Sunday, so I went to the Emirates Stadium to get a particular pepper. Now the soup is ready." M.I. and Val, food is ready. Oh, shout out to Iwobi for making my Sunday a happy one. I watched his goal, outstanding, but Arsenal coming back good to end it in a draw. I still think they're still trying to understand themselves.
Yeah.
And Babajide says, "I'm listening to Berth Mugo talking about this is not what is being discussed on the show." Kenny Hittiger says, "Good morning, guys. Arsenal has no business not winning win that game. If not for the comical defense we're parading this season, for some funny reason, I actually felt Luiz would be a good addition, but he's been disastrous so far.
How?
I do not even want to talk about Shaka's tackle. I
How?
guess we have to manage our 1 point, Jeje.
How did you expect Luiz to be good? Next story.
Okay, please. Gareth Bale twice came to Real Madrid's rescue to salvage a 2-2 draw at the Villarreal in La Liga on Sunday, but the Wales forward ended the night in despair as he was sent off in added time for receiving 2 yellow cards. Zidane criticized his side for their lackluster start, but was pleased with how they reacted to going behind. We began the game without any intensity. We were barely in the game for the first 15 minutes. It's always important to make a strong start, he told the news conference. But we reacted well and we deserved to score more goals. We're against the good opponents and we have to improve in defense because we know we're capable in attack.
Good. I know that you know you're capable in attack, but you're creating so many chances and you're not converting all of them, and that's also part of the problem. The fact that you scored 2 goals doesn't necessarily let you off the hook. I would say this for Real Madrid, they're doing everything possible not to lose, and they're playing to, because of the place that they are mentally and the way they have been beaten and their team is, they're playing to the best of their abilities. If you ask me. What it is I don't understand how Gareth Bale plays sometimes. As a forward, he's picking up too many cards. I don't know who he's upset with. I don't know where the aggression is coming from. But all of a sudden, he's a completely different mammal. He used to be the one that was getting fouled. Now he's the one fouling people.
I have an idea where the aggression is coming from.
Yeah.
But,
Don't tell us yet. So what it is defensively they do have a lot to sort out. The defenders don't yet understand Courtois. Courtois doesn't know where he stands with the defenders. That's what the defenders, even themselves, they don't understand the positioning. So again, because they do have good people in the back, it's just sometimes all of them are cut out. Like if somebody's going to the market, one person say, I'm going to the market, or somebody should be at home. No, everybody just pushes forward and then they're caught on the counter and completely exposed. So I think it's the way they structure their defense. Midfield wise, they're dead. I think they needed to look for new players all round, not just getting players on the wings, but even in the center of the park. Modric is not going to do all that running. Casemiro is too error prone, so they needed to find more options. Unfortunately, they didn't do that. But going forward, yes, they're playing to the best of their potential, having Gareth Bale and Benzema up front. I think they're doing as best as they can, but they're doing a lot better than their Barcelona counterpart, whose problem starts from the bench with the coach. Yes, I will say it until they sack Valverde. He's a horrible coach. His only tactical genius is to have Messi in his lineup. Unfortunately, Messi is injured, and so no tactical genius. Hence, he will play a group of fantastic players and come away with a poor result. And he's going to keep doing that until Bartomeu, the president that shouldn't be the president, wakes up in the morning and sacks the coach that shouldn't be a coach. I guess at the end of the day, they shouldn't be there. And they're there. But Atletico Madrid looking like my team this season to win the La Liga. And they're doing the job. So far. I mean, even when they were down by 2-0 yesterday, they managed to fight and come back and get 3-2 up. They've never stopped playing till the final minutes. With a coach like Diego Simeone, you play till you drop. And so they're pushing. So for me, if Atletico Madrid do not win the La Liga this year, it is down to them, because Barcelona is struggling, Real Madrid is struggling. This is your chance to be the bride.
Nice. Quadri Aderba on YouTube says, Tega with the village analogy, Federer for the trophy and Serena for the women. Brutalistics, was the push on Kane a penalty?
No.
Bale has been rescuing Zidane, he says. Final messages before we wrap it up. MI says, on Saturday I was laughing hard at Manchester United and Chelsea for going back to the drawing board, only for them to add Arsenal to the WhatsApp group. Tega, please do not ask Honorable Matteo any questions. Let him take a bow and go for keeping the Sabbath day in that midfield. Real One says, Gareth Bale is becoming the chief cornerstone tonight, which the builders initially rejected. He ballet. Well, he's back. He says he bailed Real Madrid out of jail twice. Thank you very much for that message, real one. Emeka Onelum says when Shaka has the ball rather, he can be an incredible player, but when off the ball, he can be the most idiotic player on the pitch. It's like his footballing brain just switches off. I think he should sit on the bench for the next few games. Good talk.
Captain.
Lukman says a very good one from Charles Leclerc and Ferrari team. Last, Arsenal will still finish behind Tottenham this season. Trolling. Guys, we're done with the trolling and all the comments. Thank you very much, Brutalistics, for your message and for your analysis as well.
And I have to say, please, the Tigers are playing today,
Mhm.
even if the country has forgotten. The Tigers are playing at the World Cup today.
Mhm.
They lost their first game against Russia, but they're playing Argentina at 9 a.m. Please locate it everywhere online. Watch it and support the Tigers.
Yeah, Shay is rooting for them here. He said they should try and beat Argentina today.
Go hard, oh.
Up next, at the top of the hour, we talk, you get to talk to us, Lagos. It's Lagos Talks 981 next. A special thanks to Tega. You can find Brutalistics at Brutalistics on Twitter. Tega is at Tega Supreme or at LIS International. Good morning.